Okay, as always, weird shit early in the morning. So, I don't know if y'all can hear that. I'm surrounded by June bugs, which is why I decided to do the reading because I mean, it's a swarm of them. They come out every summer, but it's not this many out here like this. They're so clumsy. They're always bumping into you. You know what I'm saying? And it seems like they're always very attracted to me. So it's like I just sometimes get it's like I get bombarded, with the June bugs just bumping into me. So usually, June bugs are a form of beetle, and they are a type of scarab beetle. So if you know anything about scarab beetles from ancient Kemet, scarab beetles were favored by the Egyptians, and they were also spirit guides. And whenever they would mummify people, they would put the beetles inside of the coffin, and the beetles would eat the body slowly. Okay, so this morning I had an errand to run. I had woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning, so I knew individuals had done some type of magic. Okay, so I was aware that I wouldn't know what was going on until later on that morning. So, hit the blunt, bullshitted for about an hour, and then I fell back to sleep. So, then I just kind of noticed that there was just like a lot of activity between 2 and like 3 o'clock within my household. So I had to take initiative to do certain things. It just kind of seems like they were really trying to throw it on thick, like maybe trying to distract me from what they were doing. It's kind of like using a whole bunch of jinxes, so I wouldn't be able to tell where the curse was placed, you know. So, but I mean, after all of that, I just went to sleep, woke up, and when I got in my car, I felt it immediately. They're always doing stuff on my car. I have a spiritual crush. Okay, this person is a little obsessed more than they should be, and they are very controlling. So, I mean, I'm not really saying too much of my whereabouts. This person doesn't really know what I have going on or how I'm moving. The only thing that because it's a man, of course, the only thing this man can think about and worry about is me seeing and dealing with another man. A man is the last thing that's on my mind, as of right now, when it comes to my goals, my responsibilities. Life is just too busy right now to fit anybody else in. So this person is putting curses on my car because they're trying to be able to keep up with where I'm going. They want to hear certain things because a couple of people know that I work on my mental health a lot of the times with my car. So I could feel the curse was trying to affect my mental health. I could feel it immediately when I got in the car because my brain there's like this feeling that I get, and then my brain starts feeling sick. It feels very heavy. It feels very egotistical. And the thoughts that I'm having are very egotistical, and I'm just like, right, this is not me. Somebody's trying to project. They set a curse on the car. So now, they're trying to project. They already projected certain things, right? So when I break through those certain things, it signals to the individual that is attached to the curse that it has been broken, so they started to panic and started to try to throw it on real thick. This person was trying to interfere with my errands and my plans, just being annoying. You know what I mean? And I just couldn't take it because I'm just like, this person's brain is so fucked up, and it's just like, this is too much pride. I cannot deal with all of this narcissism and all of this pride. The errand, I have to go talk to people, I have to be around people. I do not like how this feels. So of course, I had to do the work, and it seemed like the further away that I got from the home, it's kind of like the more I didn't want to be at home. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. I don't know what the hell type of thinking pattern this person is. It's chaotic. You know, I feel like this person tried to do some type of love or obsession spell over me, and it backfired. So now they're acting and behaving that way, to where, I mean, they're going through extreme measures, to keep a leash on me, to keep tabs on me, to stay connected. You know, a lot of people who do love spells on me in the beginning, it's kind of like they think that it's working, but what they don't understand is that, I enjoy love spells. I can tell when somebody is placing a love spell on me, and I will follow through with it. There's nothing wrong with love. You know, a lot of people, it's like they expect for it to become some type of obsession. If I wasn't aware, it absolutely would become some type of obsession. But see, I've had a lot of practice with this. And, it's kind of like people don't understand. People don't know my journey. People don't know what I have been through before them. They think that they're new. Look at that. Now motherfucker trying to figure out how he gonna try to put a curse over my house so he could try to see what's going on with my house. Why you ain't do that before? Because the house is protected, right? Right. The car is protected too, but it's not protected in the way in which that the house is. Woo, big ass bug. Big ass June bug. So my truth is very attracting to them. June bugs are blind, but they respond to like vibration. Truth is one of the highest vibrations. So, I expect that they would be flying all around my head. But anyway, so, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't know my journey before you. You just look at me and you think because I don't dress a certain way, look a certain way, carry myself a certain way, you think, they be thinking that, I'm just some loony goony spiritual person out here. You know what I'm saying? They don't even know who the fuck they're really dealing with, But hey, so, this person is just so angry. And at the same time, they're trying to trauma bond with me. They feel as if, I think that they think that God is not real. Like, they don't have a lot of faith. They're not strong in their faith, because in my head, it's kind of like they're blaming God and they're 1 foot in, 1 foot out with believing. I keep telling motherfuckers, you have to be patient. You have to be patient. God is patient. You have to be patient because you just don't know what is going on the other end. You don't know how God is working for you. So obviously this man it's a woman too. The thing is that he's playing with the voodoo, but he's getting her to do the witchcraft. So he's diddying people, like I said, to where he's overriding, overpowering. He's raping people's free will and making them, do his dirty work so he don't get his hands dirty. So he's trying to stay far behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, when it comes to the woman that he used, I mean, she's as good as gone. So I'm not even worried about her, but it's more so of him because he's the one trying to play the puppet master, so it just kind of seems like the love spell has backfired. I don't know if he's doing that to get me to break it, but I broke away from his mental health because I'm just like, oh no, like for some reason people just do not want to believe that I know what the fuck I'm talking about. People are always trying to prove that I don't know, and it's just like, well, if you think I don't know, then just leave me alone and just ride me off as a not credible source. You know what I mean? That's all you got to do. Just walk away. Go find what you think is professional. Point blank, period. You know what I'm saying? Because my thing is, bitch, I got the goods. And I've been doing this shit here now for about 10 years. So, I mean, what the fuck ever. And motherfuckers keep on trying to test me, and it's just like, you know, the shit don't be working, you know. And then, you know, this dude, he think he's so smart, you know, because he be trying to project through my son's father. He got upset because I lied to my son's father, and he thought that he could retaliate, but he couldn't retaliate because me lying to my son's father, which is lying to him spiritually too, it was justified because my son's father has been lying to me, and this spiritually connected individual has been lying to me too. You see, this is what I'm saying. You got to know the laws of the universe in order to play the game. You can't just be out here angry, you know, trying to figure shit out. You can't be out here playing around with the universe neither, right? In the Bible, it talks about, you know, when it came to Jesus, you know, they're trying to tell Jesus, you know, jump off this cliff. If God is real, God is going to save you. Jesus said, God said, do not test him. Don't test him for your own personal gain. Bitch, if you don't believe, you don't fucking believe. Then obviously following God is not for you. But you're not going to sit up here as if you're somebody to where motherfuckers need to prove anything to you. And see, that's what I'm saying. That's why this man, his mental health, that shit is so fucked up. He's so entitled, and he think that he's bigger than the program. But at the same time, you know, that spell, that shit that backfired on his ass, you know, he's losing his mind. You know, you're sad. All you need to do is cry. Emotionally, you are toxic, and all of your feelings and thoughts, everything is in your head. You know, like your heart is ice cold. I guess you don't trust your feelings because you don't have discernment. So you don't trust your feelings, you don't trust your thoughts, you don't trust spirit, you don't trust God, you don't trust nobody. You know, you cannot put your trust issues on other people, and you cannot make decisions based around your untrustworthiness, feelings and emotions. You're not justified for that. You're never coming from a genuine place when you have trust issues. So, you know, all that animosity, you know, all that scariness, all that fear, all that holding back, all that guardedness, you are a prisoner to your mind. You don't have to be, and you know that, but that is what you choose because you're so worried about keeping tabs on me. You should leave me alone. You're going to get hurt, and other people are going to get hurt too who are helping you. And I think that you know that. So anyway, let's get into the reader. Motherfucker is a liar. This person is a liar. They're always lying. Always lying on me, and the shit is always coming out. You know? So what are the messages? What are the messages for whomever it may concern? What are the messages? You know, I like that crazy shit. You want to show me how crazy you are about me? That's fine with me, but you're never going to have the upper hand. And I think that's why I like the craziness, you know, because it's kind of like you're showing me like how disturbed you are. But the thing is that this person, they haven't reached out. They haven't approached me, you know. So it's like you're taking yourself through all of this because you don't want to speak up for yourself. You don't want to reach out. Because you know, I know you've been a bad boy. I'm not worried about you. I'm not bothered about you. I wish you would love yourself enough to start focusing more on yourself instead of me. Because there are a lot of things that you need to work on when it comes to your mental health. You know, it's kind of like mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, you are imprisoned. You know, I'm here to help people set themselves free. It seems like you don't want people to be free. You want people to stay in this prison emotionally, mentally, and spiritually with you. So it's like crabs in a barrel, you know. People can be miserable with you and around you and dealing with you, but I mean, you don't care. Because you just want people around because you don't want to be alone. Okay, so we have the death card that fell in reverse here. What are the messages? For whomever it may concern, what are the messages? For whomever. Okay, so we have the eternity in the position of the crown. We have Nine of Pentacles. We have Justice, Ace of Wands in reverse, Seven of Cups, Queen of Pentacle, and the World. Oh my. My. So this Ace of Wands is lining up with this Death card in reverse individual on the outside of the reading. This person is exhausted. Like they are exhausted with trying to keep up a facade. You know what I'm saying? This person is very hard on themselves. You know, like this person, to me, they think that they're more than what they are. So with them thinking that they're more than what they really are, they put a lot of pressure on themselves to be what they think that they are, but it seems like it's not working, like it's over. You know, the Death card in reverse, motherfucker don't want to let go. They don't want to accept that this shit is over. What is going on in your life that you are not letting go of? You know, that has you feeling so prideful, you know, that, well, sometimes you have to transform your reputation. Like, if this is an older person, you know, you may have served in your community, you may have accomplished certain things within your career, and it's like you're still trying to hold on, like you're not allowing the next phase of your life to begin. It's kind of like, I hope you don't have Peter Pan syndrome, because it's really not that serious. And I'm going to tell you, I worked in geriatrics for a long time. When you don't accept, when you don't go with the flow of life, when the phases of life change, you know, you're going to end up like, and I'm just saying if you're older, like, this doesn't have to be the situation. It's just a scenario. But, you know, you sitting up there trying to be forever young, and every time you look at your face, you look old, then you get upset. Now you don't like what you see in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? So now you're trying to compensate for how you look, you know, and in order to protect your insecurity, you know, you're trying to shield yourself with all this pride and all of this false ass high maintenance and all this type of shit like that, like trying to make yourself seem like you're more so that you can feel like you're on top whenever you deal with somebody, and you can try to keep them small or make them feel small about themselves. Jesus Christ. You know, it's just like, is it that serious? It's been very annoying today, you know, because it seems like, I think it's, you know, I can pick up on people's discontentment, and their discontentment is annoying because it's kind of like real rushy. And when you're rushing, you're not paying attention. And when I'm driving, you know, motherfuckers got road rage. And it's just like, calm the fuck down, because this is how accidents happen. And then it gets to a point to where you're so upset in your mind, but when that impact happened, then you snap out of it, right? So I'm going to tell you something about myself. You know, when I first started working with somebody with my mental health, you know, the shit just seemed like a lot of work, and I did not want to deal with it. And I couldn't understand what the hell this person was talking about. And, you know, and I remember one day I was in my thoughts and I was driving, and I was so angry. I ended up hitting a cat. I ended up hitting this cat. You know, it was a black cat. And, you know, the cat got across the street, and it just laid on the side of the street, and it just died. After that, I started working on my mental health. I started getting my shit together. You know what I'm saying? That's all that it took for me to realize there's something wrong. You know, I saw the cat, and I sped up thinking that I could, you know, like, get past the cat before the cat crossed. I was not thinking. So the next day, me and my son, we went to go get that cat and bury that cat. So, I mean, it's different strokes for different folks. You know, it's obviously, it takes people harder hits in order to understand that your mind is an endangerment to you and people on the outside of you. When I hit that cat, I got my shit together. I started working and practicing on my mental health. I still deal with the guilt. I still deal with the guilt of that shit. But with me dealing with the guilt, it reminds me, you need to be working on your fucking mental health. So, you know, if you, whatever. Whatever has to happen to wake you up, sometimes it's too late. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, getting back to the reading, that's for that outside person. So when it comes to you, you have eternity in the position of your crown, which means that this is an awakening. You are coming to a big awakening spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. And there's something here about your dreams too. Okay, so you may notice that your dreams are not dreams, like they're premonitions. And the thing is that you've been noticing how they're premonitions, but you have not been taking it serious. It's kind of like, oh, I had a dream about something and it happened. Cool. You know what I'm saying? But no, it's not cool. That is a gift. That is a talent. That is a skill. You need to be working on that. You need to appreciate that. You need to be building on that. Everybody doesn't have the gift of premonition. So you can see ahead of time through your dreams. So, that shit needs to work for you in your life. Like, there's a reason for that. If something devastating is going to happen or in the future, you'll already see it. Like, don't be a goofy. You know what I'm saying? Take that shit serious. That's a gift. That you're given that gift for a reason. You're going to need that shit. Okay? So, because sometimes when we awaken, it can be kind of scary too, or it could just seem far-fetched, but your mind is going to, there's something here about inspiration, like maybe your dreams are going to inspire you. Movies are rooted from dreams. A lot of movies that are created, individuals had dreams. And that is the most organic place that you can pull from when it comes to creativity. Most people look around and they gather ideas, so it's recycling, which is nothing wrong with that, but you have something new and refreshing to bring to the world when it comes to vision, and, inspiration. Well, this is your own inspiration. Okay, so I have a feeling that you're going to be learning how to be inspired by yourself, which means that you're starting to realize how great you are, how amazing you are as an individual. And there are certain things that you may go through, things that you may experience, and this is where your inspiration is going to come from versus the external. Okay. So eternity, everlasting life, nothing is going to go wrong for you at this point in time. Remember that, because you may have people or individuals like trying to play tricks with your mind. They may be trying to convince you of certain things, like trying to hold you into a certain place, right? When we talked about this person, this death card person in reverse, like it seems like they want to hold everybody back. They want to hold everybody down. This is the crab in the barrel, but no, you are free. Okay, you are free. And it doesn't matter what anybody does. Well, for one, you got the world card here. So you are in union with God at this time. You see, God knows what people are up to. Okay, so you may give a message. Okay, and this message, even if you feel weird about this message, well, you're going to be fine. You got to give the message. Okay, because people are trying to sacrifice you. God is using you as spiritual bait. Okay, with this situation, you never know what God is up to. So the best thing to do is just follow through. Okay. There's a contract with the nine of Pentacles. This is also financial independence. This is what you deserve, right? So there's more that you deserve, but you don't know that you're going to receive more. You don't know that something is going to be more than what you think or what you expected it to be. I do kind of feel like it has something to do with a relationship too. Okay. So, I don't know if these messages are for a man or for a woman, but when it comes to a special person, this person is going to be more than what you thought. Oh, I have a feeling you know who this person is. Do they, I mean, are they aware of this person? Okay, yeah, you have some type of awareness of this person. So what you know from them, what you think about them, I mean, obviously y'all are not together, because I mean, you don't know. This is what you call the gift that keeps on giving. So this person is like a box of gifts, which means that they have a lot of layers, and every time they peel back a layer of themselves is a gem. Obviously, you like gems. Okay, I'm hearing you like the finer things in life, but that's more so on a practical note. This person is going to represent wealth in a more spiritual and moral way. You know what I'm saying? Emotionally and mentally. This is, like, you understand what I'm saying. Okay, so obviously this is some type of soulmate situations, because it's reflective. One is physical, one is external, and one is internal, right? So somebody's an extrovert and then somebody's an introvert. Introverts, they hesitate with dealing with extroverts because it could be a little draining, and extroverts are kind of nervous with dealing with introverts because it's kind of like, oh, am I too much? Like extroverts will start to feel as if they're too much. So, you may have some thoughts or, some fears around dealing with this situation or dealing with this person. But it's kind of like, snap out of it. Like, God got you. God knows exactly, what is going to be good for you. Okay. I keep hearing custom. You're custom made. And so somebody had to be custom made for you. Okay. So, you may be a bit confused. You may feel a little distracted. Well, you need to be at this time, because you have to be patient, because things are happening behind the scenes that you don't know about. Okay? So, let's say that you know who you want to be with, or you know who you want to pursue, or what you want to pursue. It doesn't have to be a person, maybe a career or something. You find yourself kind of being distracted by other things, and it seems like it seems like the road is open to the distractions, and what you were focused on, it seems like you're being blocked. Right? Okay, there's purpose in that. Trust that. Maybe you need to have a little fun. Need to have a little fun. Maybe need to have some experiences. I just really hear fun. You need to have more fun so we can relax, right? Because fun helps open up the heart. Exploring your options, having romantic experiences with different people, enjoying other people's different company. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So, Queen of Pentacles, taking initiative, and that's lined up with the Nine of Pentacles. So you're taking initiative when it comes to your financial independence, or when it comes to some type of a contract. Okay. And then we end off with the World card here. Nothing is stopping you. Whatever you want at this time, whatever you pursue, whatever you go for, it will be open to you. Okay, the world is your oyster, and God is with you. You are in union with your higher self, with God, and with God. So, World card also represents getting your shit together. You spent a phase getting your shit together. Now you have it together. So now you're preparing for the next phase. Okay, so when we go through transformation, we usually deal with the Reaper angel, to help us transform and move through dark spaces. During this time, God is moving you through light spaces, right? Which means that individuals may be trying to blindside you or love bomb you. They're trying to blind your sight with a bright light. Okay, instead of darkness, it's bright light. Okay. So I want to say this before we wrap up the reading, because I hear it very strongly. You are favored by the dark and the light. Okay, so if you deal with a lot of warfare, it's kind of like the darkness and the light, they both love you equally. But the darkness has a tendency to go overboard. It's always trying to overpower, because darkness is very powerful. But once again, there are laws. Okay, so you can't, the darkness can't just do whatever they want to do, especially without consequences, right? But maybe your period of working with the darkness is over. So now God is moving you through this very bright place, okay, to get you to the other side. It's so blinding you can't see. Okay, so it's kind of like you're moving into a different level of warfare, to where people are going to be very gaslighting. You know what I mean? People are going to try to love bomb you and just all type of shit. So it's like toxic positivity. Okay, see, this is where the light needs some darkness, because you need some truth up in there. Because when people want to be too positive, they want to avoid real shit. And then when fucked up shit start happening, it's already too late, and they don't understand because they've been blindsided, right? Because they kind of want to avoid the truth. So that's what I pick up. All right, but we're going to end it here. Until the next time, we'll talk again. Thank you.